Hi, everyone, and welcome to The X, a podcast from inside Silicon Valley about how experience shapes everything from products to businesses to entire industries. I'm Brian McLean, and I'm here with Demetrius Madrigal. This is a live bonus episode as we just finished watching the Tesla Cybertruck Delivery Event and thought it would be fitting to do a quick UX review of what we saw, what we think, and how we think the truck might do moving forward. Well, D, what do you think? Minus all the streaming issues, lighting issues, the event finally took place, and what are your initial thoughts?
Well, aside from just the event being just poorly done overall, it started 20 minutes late. There was no lighting at all for some reason, and all the demos were bad. It still comes back to the same thing for me. This truck is ugly as it gets. Like it's the modern Pontiac Aztec.
You don't like it at all, huh? There's no redeeming qualities to it?
There are plenty of redeeming qualities to it. It is a functional truck, apparently, as far as we can tell. And it does seem to have a lot of power, and it does seem to have a lot of torque, which I expect from, Tesla's electric motor.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, it's ugly. A lot of these features just seem pointless. I don't get shot at. So,
Yet.
I don't see why I need to have bulletproof doors. I don't know why I need to have unbreakable windows. It seems a lot of this stuff just seems pointless. I don't know why they can't just do something more like a normal truck and just put it out like a year earlier or something.
Yeah.
And not be, behind all of the other electric vehicles that are out there that honestly just seem like they're more attractive. Like I'd probably rather have like the Silverado or F-150 or even a Rivian.
Yeah. Rivian's done a really nice job. Their design is beautiful. Like I saw,
and they're local.
they're local. Yeah. It's interesting. Somebody come over to pick something up. I was giving away some free tree stumps, and this guy was like, "Oh, I'm going to use them for a project or whatever." And he shows up in a Rivian, and he let me kind of tour the Rivian and, go inside and look at it and everything. Really nice made vehicle. Very, very good looking. It's a light duty truck. It looks like a light duty truck. It's not like more of the beefier, heavier kind of look that I like the F-150s. I really like the F-150 a lot. So here's the deal. I was thinking about this last night before, this event. We didn't even talk about doing this little bonus episode until literally 30 minutes before the event started. And I was thinking about the truck because they said they were going to release it today, and they made some changes to it and stuff. And I was thinking about how it's kind of like a 12-year-old boy's dream, right? Like when you're no, seriously, like when you're really young and you're
like, it looks like it was designed by a 12-year-old boy.
Yeah, it's a post-apocalyptic Mad Max Thunderdome or whatever it's called, like type of truck. It has all the things you've ever wanted as a kid. Like it's bulletproof, it's super fast. It could, it could do all these crazy things. And I think he's just kind of bringing that to reality. I did a little test, which I had mentioned to you, but I thought it was quite funny. Is I asked my son, who's 9, and some of his friends. I took a picture of the Cybertruck, no name on it or anything like that. I just said, "Hey guys, what do you think about this truck?" And I just put it in front of them. And it was interesting what they said, because they were all like, "Oh my God, that's so cool." But the response after that, especially for my son, was like, "It's geometric. That's so cool." So I started thinking about it, and I was like, okay, wait, maybe I have old man thinking, and that's okay. But I was like, maybe my brain is just a little bit too stuck into what a truck looks like, because I was like, maybe a younger generation thinks it's more cool. Now, I don't think it's hideously ugly, and I also don't think it's also amazing, because I think one of the issues with this truck, and I've never heard anyone mention this before, is typically when you buy a truck, you buy it with, let's say you have a family or a partner, you have to kind of negotiate on which one to get. It's not just oh, I'm getting the one that's raised and you could barely climb into it and has KC lights on the top. You say oh, I want to get a truck. Which one do you like? That kind of stuff. This clearly falls in the camp of you either love the look of this thing or you hate it. So you're not going to be able to really negotiate with your partner if your partner is like, "I hate the look of this truck," right? So I think that could create some tension right there of hey, we're going to buy a new car. It's like $80,000 or whatever it costs. Very expensive, right? And I want this thing that is going to make everyone turn their head and look at us when we drive up. It's like a beefed up DeLorean. You know what I mean?
So I have it does. It looks like a beefed up DeLorean, which is not a good thing to model, right? Like the DeLorean, the design looks dated, and it looks like a it was not a very good car, and it didn't sell very well, and there was never another DeLorean car, so it's not a good thing to model. And if it wasn't for that movie, all of us would probably look at him and like, ugh, right? Um,
I
I
don't know. I mean, I tried to convince you 4 years ago to buy a DeLorean for the company,
yeah,
put our company name on it, and then park it in the parking lot and drive it around. And you were like, never going to happen.
you're right. Yeah, it's never going to happen. We don't even have the office anymore because we've been working remotely since
Remotely.
COVID.
Yeah.
But like no, it's not going to happen. They're massively overpriced also for what they are. They're just not very good cars and stuff. The only reason to get it is for novelty factor, and that's kind of how I feel about this. The bone that I have to pick that I don't hear anybody else asking, right?
Uh
Why doesn't it come in different colors? Why is it only like this
huh.
metal
Yeah.
color? Like it's what is this 1910? You don't have paint? It can't be painted? Like why is this a one size fit all? Like the whole part of the thing about buying a truck is that you get the truck that you want, right? If you
Uh
go and
huh.
buy an F-150, you can buy an F-150 with a short bed, with a long bed, with a king cab, a super cab, a normal cab. There's all these ways in which it gets personalized to you, and there's none of that for this.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be an issue alongside that. When you buy something, you want it to look good, and it's one of the
Yeah.
things that Tesla has done well for their other vehicles. The Model S
Yeah.
looks good,
This is interesting
the
to me
Roadster
because
looked good. This looks ugly.
I feel like I don't think it's ugly, honestly. I think it's unique. Like ugly to me is like a Pinto or something. I
Well,
feel like this
you
is
think it
unique.
looks nice and unique, but here's where the rubber meets the road. Are you buying one?
No. But
Right.
here's the thing though. Like buying cars is very weird anyway. It's a very specific exercise in like many facets of human behavior. But like I think that honestly, D, I feel like he built this car for himself. Now, if this is kind of like a car that drives attraction or interest or conversation to Tesla, and then eventually he uses this in order to make the next truck, and the next truck looks more like a regular truck, which kind of like he did with the Roadster. I wouldn't be shocked if this was the vehicle to raise capital for the next truck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they always think 5 steps ahead over a
Well,
Tesla.
why not make the truck that will be commercially successful? So here's the thing, right? Roadster looked like a car. It looked like a good car.
Mhm.
It looked like other roadsters and other sports cars that are out there. Model S looked like a sedan that people would want, and looks like it's out there. That the Cybertrucks looks like it was a truck that was designed by somebody who hates trucks and never drives them.
Well, I will defend the Cybertruck in a couple ways here. Number one is I think what they did with the wheels and everything that was super cool. I like the look of those wheels. I like the
Sure,
beefy. I like
yeah.
that the truck is raised up. I think he did get it as high as possibly without having to have any tilt issues. But like I think that like when he said like, oh, you could put a 4x8 sheet of plywood in the back, that's essential to me. Like I can't buy a truck with a bed that doesn't fit plywood in it because pretty much every time I do a project, I have to buy a full sheet of plywood. Otherwise, I got to stand in line and have a cut at Home Depot. So I like that he thought through on that piece. I
But I
think
see
that
people. I've seen people put plywood in their trucks. It overhangs on top. Sure, sometimes you lay it down, and that's fine too. But like people, it's not a use case that needs to be solved. Like you can go with any other normal truck. I worked at Home Depot in the '90s before, like when I was just getting started in college, and people came all the time and put 4x8s in their back of their truck.
mhm,
So
yeah. But I
it's
mean,
cool.
the point I'm trying to make is he's not thinking about truck needs. He's trying to blend truck needs with his need to have a you know a
Well,
whatever
number one,
steampunk truck. There it is, a steampunk truck.
I wanted to get this to move this a little bit away from Elon because he didn't design this vehicle, right? He didn't engineer it. His employees did. Tesla did,
Uh huh.
and that's one of the issues with the idea that he made this truck for himself. Is this is not a private company.
Oh,
He has
absolutely,
stockholders. He
absolutely.
has employees. He has all these other people out there. The reality is this will be it will be they will probably not take a loss on it. The units they make will probably sell,
I think
but
so.
I
Yeah.
don't think it's taking market share from Ford F-150s and the Toyota Tundras and the other trucks that are out there.
No, to me it feels like, and I could be wrong, but it feels like a truck you drive around to show off in. Like,
Yes.
look at me, I got a Cybertruck at my house, right? Or, we're going out tonight, we're taking the Cybertruck, right? Like, I that's what it feels like. It doesn't feel like, oh, I'm going to get my truck and now I'm heading over to the fire station where I work, right? It doesn't feel like it fits in that. If he proves me wrong,
Yeah.
that's great. But like, I doesn't feel, it feels like a show car. Like you drive around LA in your Cybertruck,
Yeah.
right?
Which is odd because it's in a lot of ways designed and engineered to be very functional, but
Well,
it
that's the
definitely
thing. That's the
feels
thing.
like
Tesla
yeah.
doesn't tend to make vehicles that don't have functionality. Like at the end of the day, like
Hmm.
they won't compromise on that part, right? So if you look at it, like the fact that it has the test the good Tesla engines in it, and it's drive by wire and like all these different things that are like very innovative and very awesome for new electric cars, they're not going to compromise on that. It's the
Well, those
shell
are
that is.
a lot of that stuff is already pre-existing within
Yeah, that's what's great,
the
right? So
Tesla
they can kind of
ecosystem.
build more cars, you know what I mean, with the same pre-existing technology that they created or they
Hmm.
got off the shelf or whatever. But like that's the key is like the truck itself has some cool things to it. Like it definitely like I love the fact that like it can tow quite a bit. It is
Sure.
it seems like it got a decent range. I think it was over 250. I think I might have missed that part on there when we were watching it, but like it has a decent range before charge. It's got good features. It just has such a
Well,
unique, like controversial look.
the range is still an issue, and number one because a lot of these people are going to be going on long road trips with their trucks. I see it happen all the time. If you live in the Bay and you want to like tow your truck up to, the Murphy area up to like to where the lakes are, and you can go drop your boat in the lake and do that stuff. You might not have the range for it.
Oh, you will, because I actually checked because a friend of ours was bringing their electric truck up there,
Uh-huh.
and or electric car up there, and it was the total trip for them was about 180 to 190 miles.
Okay.
So it's all
So
under range. Like
if
it's
you're
under
assuming
300.
a Tesla this time is telling the truth about the range, then yes.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, if it's
but
well,
they
first of
have
all,
been on
almost.
record multiple times about that. They have been called out multiple times about lying about these things.
Yeah, but I think what you're trying to point out is that you don't think that the range for any vehicle then, because most of them are it
No,
doesn't matter what
I think it
brand
is.
is.
I think it is an issue across the board for electric vehicles, and I think that everybody has acknowledged that it is an issue. I'm not saying that it's going to preclude people from buying the vehicles at all, but I
Mhm.
also think that for trucks, they're a little bit more likely than standard passenger vehicles to be used for longer trips, to be purchased for the purpose of taking it for longer trips or taking it off the grid into somewhere where you're going to be away from infrastructure that can support you than you would with a normal passenger vehicle that
Well,
might
I think
be used more
if you
for
did
daily commute.
that, I mean, I think that's the like I've watched quite a few videos on guys who took their Rivians and stuff like that on the
Hmm.
Rubicon and different places like that, and they said their biggest number one concern was simply like, if I get too far out in the woods and I can't recharge this thing, or I don't have
Yeah,
enough juice to get back, what do I do? And they have all kinds of weird ways of solving this, but like it's
hmm,
it is an issue. But I'm curious
yeah.
though, from your perspective, just in your mind. I know you probably haven't done the math on this, but like, do you have a number in your head of how far an electric vehicle needs to go for you to feel like it's meeting your needs? Because like I've asked this to other people and they all say 400. I don't know why, but they're like 400 miles, and I'm like, okay, where's this arbitrary number come from? Because for me, it would be like,
Well,
if you could take me to LA and back, that'd be awesome.
the range on my current vehicle, which is a normal,
It's gas, right?
yeah, it's an electric vehicle. It's a Lexus IS 250, I think. It's about 400 miles. So I think that's kind of the expected standard. Now, the reality is that Toyota has patents on solid state batteries. They
Uh-huh.
famously don't really have any all electric vehicles yet, but they are the largest vehicle maker in the world. I think them and GMC go back and forth, but they have. I think they ship around 10 times the vehicles that Tesla does on an annual basis.
Uh-huh.
They have a patent for a battery that will deliver 800 miles of range.
Yeah, I mean, you hit 800 miles on any electric vehicle, you can pretty
Hmm.
much say goodbye to gas vehicles
Well,
because
that's the theoretical element too. So that maybe that will be 400 miles when it gets to market. Maybe it'll be 600 miles, but maybe it'll be 300 miles. But it's more than 200.
if you could drive, if you
That
could drive
is
the,
the critical mass for the electric vehicle market. Is like getting to comparable ranges.
let me ask you something. If you could drive to your friend's house that you stay at when you guys to Disneyland and stuff, and
Hmm.
only charge at his house and then drive all the way back home, would you be totally stoked? Like, would you be
Oh
on
yeah,
the
absolutely.
electric car bandwagon?
Well, here's the thing: electric cars are inevitable.
Yeah.
They are inevitable. Eventually, we will all be driving electric cars unless you are a collector who owns, like, like a 1964 or a 1969 Camaro or something like that. Unless you have like a classic car, we're all going to be driving electrics in 20, 30 years, maybe 40 years.
Don't tell
But
me what
it's
to do.
inevitable. It's a matter of time.
How dare you tell me what to do? I'll be driving a gas guzzler forever. No, I'm just kidding. No, I actually I like the idea of transitioning, and I love seeing that all the vehicles are going there. But I do want to switch over though, real quick. I want to actually ask you about user experience with this truck because
Hmm.
I have so when you think about how this truck was designed, I know you have strong feelings behind it, but do you think there was any UX done with customers regarding the design of it? Forget the utility. We know that Tesla makes
Well,
good engines.
as far as the visual design,
Yes. Do you think that they
no,
they,
I
they
don't think
spoke with
so.
it? Really? You don't think you
I would be
zero?
stunned. If they did, they probably talk to like hardcore Tesla fanboys who will just like everything that they like, which is something when you're doing this kind of work, you have to keep in mind. You have to make sure that when you talk to people, that your brand is not influencing them unduly because you can get bad data.
Yeah.
No, I think that if they did, that it was deliberately ignored because this is what Elon wanted. But I do think that from a true user use case and UX perspective, they did talk to users and they did figure out, okay, well, here's some of the things that I want. The bed can be smaller, but it needs to do this, this, and this.
Yeah.
And it needs to have this amount of clearance. And I want to avoid rolling over and stuff. The anti-rollover stuff to me was way more important than you can shoot this thing with low caliber or low load uh, bullets and stuff, right?
You mean a Tommy gun?
Yeah, they're pulling out a Tommy gun which shoots, I think 45 pistol rounds, right? It's not they're not shooting it with a rifle load. They're not hitting it with the 30-06 or anything like that. But like the anti-rollover is so much more important than the showy like, oh, we can have Joe Rogan shoot it with an arrow. Like, when does that happen? That never happens. Like, you time traveling back to like the 1700s and getting shot with an arrow? No, it's not happening.
Yeah. No, the anti-rollover is great. I have often thought about that with different cars and trucks because when a lot of times you get a truck, you raise it a little bit, right? Because that way when you're
Hmm.
doing your off-road stuff, you don't get scrapes on the bottom. And you see these tests, and the trucks will go and real fast, and then they'll whip them to the side and that kind of stuff, and boom, you hit a roll.
Hmm.
So if you can kind of prevent, let's say 80-90% of the rollovers
Yeah.
by having it kind of low to the ground or gravity or whatever the technology that they use in order to do that, that's game changing. That's awesome. That's fantastic. That'll save
Yeah.
lives.
There's other people that already have that kind of stuff, but it's important. Like the Land Rover, for example, which I think is ahead of them on certain ways, has dynamic changes of your ride height as
Yeah,
needed.
that's cool. Yeah.
So you don't have to manually do it. It has what it has algorithmic base, which is basically AI that determines like, oh, well, we need a little bit more, a little bit higher ride height to get through this section, and it'll change it on its own. You don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
So, and that was I saw that on a vehicle probably around 7, 8 years ago. So there's other stuff out there that I think is more interesting. And but at the end of the day, it just feels so horse and pony show. Like this thing just seems like why can't you get it in different colors? I just keep coming back to that. Why is it just this one thing? And it
Yeah.
definitely feels as though it's just like Elon had this vision of this thing, and now we have to execute his vision, even though it's probably not going to be the best thing for the consumer or for the company. So, and then it accommodates all these use cases that don't exist, and it's just I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know why they did it.
The
It's
use cases that quote unquote don't exist are psychological. They're ones that it's funny. Like when the Model S came out, one of the number one things that people said to me about their Model S, and I didn't know too many people. I know about 3 4 people that got a Model S like in the very beginning. You know what I mean? They first came out, and everyone was like, "Oh my god, they're so fast," and that kind of stuff. Was they were like, "Did you know there's a feature where you can push a button and it seals all the windows and puts in a pure oxygen mixture so you don't have to breathe outside air?" And I was
Yeah,
like, "Oh, that's crazy, right?" And I was like, I was thinking, how often would you use that? And then literally, we had the wildfires, right? But it
yeah.
was funny because he did an interview and somebody asked him, "Why would you do that?" And he said, "Well, if there was an apocalypse, at least you could drive around and breathe clean air." And he was like laughing about it, and I was like,
Now, my thought on it was they're trying to get it into the Chinese market
Why did the Chinese market want that?"
because in certain parts of China, the air quality is really bad,
Oh,
and they
oh,
need.
yeah. No, I understand that. Yeah, but it's that I was thinking about just that feature, right? It's like you would never see that feature in another car company, really, right? Like the one thing I will give him, I'm not going to give him. I'm going to give Tesla. There's 144,000 people that work there, and I've met people there that I really like. So
Mhm.
the company Tesla has good people that work there, and I would say that the one thing I like is that they do push the barriers, even when they miss the mark a little bit. They are pushing a little bit. They're just kind of saying, like, we're going to try this new way of doing things. Now, with this one, honestly, I do think that it's going to be a unique ownership. It's going to have very unique numbers behind purchase orders. Like, I think you're going to get, like you said, fan people who are like really interested in the truck. Maybe it'll expand the bubble out a little bit. Maybe if they did offer other colors. And also, I mean, imagine this thing in like a flat black or something. That could look really cool too,
Sure.
right? So
Yeah.
maybe they will do that. They'll see how
It
many
would look
sell.
so much better with a flat black.
Yeah, like that's
So much better
and
with a flat black.
so sick, right? Like a flat. I saw someone had a
It still
flat.
wouldn't look good, but it would look
No, I
so
think it
much
would look.
better.
I think it would look cool. I mean, here's the deal. I think what you're going to get from this is you're going to get kind of what people did with the Sprinter van market, which I'm really interested in, which is where they deck them all out, they do interesting things to them, they mod them and stuff, and it'll be like that unique car, but it's not going to be their flagship car vehicle, right? Like their flagship vehicles are the ones that look like normal sedans, right?
Maybe I don't feel like I see a lot of modding culture around Teslas. I don't know if that
Yeah,
is
I could send you a couple links of some things people did that made their Teslas look way better, dude. I mean, to the point where, like, I think if Elon saw that, he'd just be like, "I think I need to steal some of these ideas."
like, are there like bolt-on solutions in order to do
Yeah,
things like that? Like
There's some
I
cool stuff.
I
I'll send you a
never
link.
see it.
I'll send you a link after the podcast. Well, on the road, you haven't seen it.
No.
Oh,
And we're in like the epicenter for Tesla drivers, and I never see it. I think part of it is because the people who buy Tesla cars are not the kind of people who mod their vehicles.
yeah. I don't know. I'd
I just don't think it's that demographic.
love to see the demographic breakdown of all the
Hmm.
Tesla purchasers. I mean, I know that majority of them are sold in coastal cities,
Yeah,
but the regular vehicles are being sold more often now um,
yeah.
in
Well,
everywhere.
if I were to align the brands, right, I feel like I feel like there's a German model where you get a BMW, you get an Audi or something like that. It's a
Yeah,
perfect vehicle. You're not supposed to do anything with it. If you get a Honda or a Toyota, there's a whole modding culture around it, and that used to be a thing also with American cars. I don't know if it is quite as much as it used to be, but it's like that kind of European model is very Apple, where take your thing, use it as we want you to do it, use our approved peripherals, and nothing different. Stay on the beaten path, stay in the walled garden. And on the other side is the Android side, where it's like, oh yeah, add on all these things, do all this stuff, root your phone, do all the stuff with it. And Tesla, in general, the brand seems more aligned with the Apple approach, where take this thing as it is. It is perfectly designed. Don't mess with anything and use it as we intend you to use it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, absolutely, 100%. Like you look at Apple, you look at Tesla. There's a couple brands that just fall right into that category, like beautifully. Like it's just like you use it and you own it, and that's the way it is, right? And we give you a software update. That's pretty much it. Um, overall, though, I mean, this is supposed to be like a little bonus episode, so I don't want to go on for hours and hours. But like, overall, when you looked at things like not having handles for the vehicle where you walk up and you rub your thumb on it or whatever it is, and then it pops open, things like that. Do you like that direction of user experience? Because like I kind of do. I'm cool with not having handles if it works every time. I just don't want to get to a point where I can't open my car. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the thing is that is it an advantage to not have handles?
I think it looks cooler to not have a handle on a car. I think it's smoother. I love design. So like I'm
Hmm.
not just a functional person. Like I do look at things and I want to feel good about it. So like I do like getting rid of the handles. I like getting rid of little things and stuff like that on the vehicles, more minimalistic approaches. Um, I know that I read an article that said that there's a drag issue for sure on vehicles from your mirrors and your handles, all the little things that stick
Sure.
on the side that you can really speed things up. You can reduce, gasoline. They were talking about gasoline cars, but like you can reduce the amount of gas used if you can start removing a lot of those components and stuff.
Sure.
And so I thought about that, and I was like, okay, maybe that's what they're doing.
I imagine that's got to be minimal, and there's been other designs I've seen that have been a little bit better at it. The
I
only
feel
reason
like
I'm concerned about.
you're always gonna downplay Tesla. You're not gonna give them anything.
Oh,
I
sure, I
feel
did. I just hyped up their whole anti-rollover thing. I think it's
for
great,
like
and
10
they
seconds.
have great motors because that's not what they focused on, right? So why would we do a whole big thing on it when they're just like, oh, hey, here's a throwaway fact? That is what they should focus on, is that anti-rollover stuff and those kinds of things. If you can handle like kind of off-roading and those kinds of use cases, then let's see it more rather than talking about it while it's driving on flat pavement or like a flat surface off
Well,
road.
give me a break, dude. I mean, they threw a baseball at it at the
Very
same
softly,
at the same speed that I would throw a ball to my cat. So
yes, which was
no,
just like don't do it. We number one, I don't need unbreakable windows. You don't need unbreakable windows. They're turning down like OEM replacement part revenue in order to put in these ridiculous windows, and it just becomes this weird meme. Like I said, horse and pony show. I think that the reality is it is too early for there to be a verdict on this vehicle. The 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 handleless doors. If I didn't have this history of hearing about people getting locked out of their cars because of the software errors, I would say that's cool. But the fact that they do makes me question, like, oh, I hope this works right. I noticed that it was unintuitive for people walking up. They had to be turned how to do it. That's a discoverability issue, but it's not a huge issue. As someone who owns a vehicle, you would know after using it a few times, and it's not going to be a long term issue. I don't know that it has much of an advantage. At the end of the day, I don't really care one way or the other. It just makes me wonder, like, am I going to start hearing a year from now about how much people hate these doors or not? And we'll find out. We will.
yeah, it'll be super interesting. I just had a realization. We were joking that this thing kind of looks a little bit like a DeLorean truck. If you think about it, with the wing doors that he did on the X, and then kind of this, kind of gunmetal design. I mean, not even gunmetal. What is it called? Just stainless steel
Just
or something.
yeah.
Stainless steel design stuff. He
If it
really
was
is
gunmetal,
pulling.
it would look better.
Yeah, no, it's even. How dare you? It's even closer to like kind of DeLorean. Maybe there's just a lot of components of the DeLorean that he
I think
really.
it's one of the reasons why you like it because you love the DeLorean so much.
What I like about the DeLorean, it's a
It does look. The
terrible
more you
vehicle.
mention it, the more it does look like a DeLorean knockoff.
Yeah, it does, and what I liked about the DeLorean was just that he pushed the limits and made it unique, right? It's just like the
Mhm.
with the wing doors and like stainless steel and stuff. It was just kind of like, oh, the future's here, it's coming. It's just fun. It's
I
like
think wing doors existed back when
everything
that came
doesn't
out
just
by a
have to
good 10 years,
be,
but
but it doesn't everything doesn't have to be like so in line with what everybody else is doing. I like it. I mean, it's you and I talk about this all the time with movies, right? They just keep making
sure.
Marvel movies. No one makes anything interesting anymore. So like, I
People
am.
make plenty of things that are interesting. I'm going to push
This
back against
is
that whole thing.
Yeah, but this is
There's number
interesting.
one, like there is plenty of creative stuff that's coming out. Like everything, everywhere, all at once was creative and different, and happened in the Marvel when Marvel was doing its thing. There's like this whole false narrative about that. The reality is that like, is this an improvement or is this different for different sake? And I don't know the answer to that yet. But everything they're not doing themselves any favors with users like me who approach this a little bit of skeptical. I'm not just gonna
You would never be a target user anyways, though,
yeah.
because
Which is
you're
why
not.
they will not be a mainstream product and will not It will not reach the same levels of success as a Ford F-150 or the Toyota vehicles, and which means it will stay at about 1% market share, which means it won't justify its stock price.
This vehicle, I don't think will drag down Tesla in any way.
No, but it's not. I don't think it will, but I also don't think it's going to lift them up. I think it was a little bit of a boondoggle that's going to put them behind from a schedule perspective relative to the competitors. Because here's the thing, right? Here's the thing that kills me about this. Because they took so long trying to do all these crazy things that are unnecessary, they are now one of the last electric vehicle trucks to hit the road.
Yep.
They have
But
Ford ahead of them. They have Rivian ahead of them. They have Chevy and GMC ahead of them. There's plenty of them. The only one who hasn't really is Toyota because I can only assume that they're waiting for this battery technology to become available.
well, the one thing I will say is that you've said on many podcasts before, it's like not always the first people are the ones who succeed, right? It's kind of the
Nope,
you
that's
know
true.
the people later, right? But like, there's already been one um, knockoff of the Tesla of the Cybertruck.
There is.
Yep, yep. It's
Who made
called
it?
the RoboTruck 1T, and
How's
apparently
it doing?
it was no, it was released just this year at the auto show. But
Yeah.
you should look it up. It's really interesting. It actually has, you know, a much cooler design to the doors than the Cybertruck does, because it actually like looks like the doors are kind of caved in where you have like kind of like an indentation in the door. Um, but it's interesting because I'm wondering if there will be more knockoffs where people are making cars that do have a similar design look, because that happened actually after the first couple Teslas came out. People said that a lot of the
Mhm.
electric vehicles started taking some of their curves and some of their design ideas.
Well,
I'd
I
be
mean,
shocked,
those
but
those Tesla vehicles, they got their design ideas from existing vehicles, right? And he mentioned the McLaren, which
yeah,
definitely
he loves the
inspired
McLaren.
the Roadster. So again, when it comes to are people going to like the panels and the windows and the lights are really weird, but maybe people will like them when they get into use. Maybe they won't. I don't know. So one of those things that could definitely surprise me, and people will say like, "Oh, I love this and this," and I didn't expect to. Uh, but the way it's been marketed, the way it's been handled, the way it seems as though it's positioned just for the hardest core of the Tesla fanboys, and that's pretty much all who is going to buy it, maybe ever.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's gonna be like the it's gonna
And
you're gonna
there's an opportunity cost for developing this thing that's very niche and very difficult and took them a very long time and takes up production resources when they don't have a lot compared to their competitors when they could be doing something more mainstream.
yeah, it'll be one to watch for sure. I'm glad we jumped on a podcast and did this and debated this, because like I said, I don't look at the vehicle and go, oh my god, that's hideous. Like, I'm right in the middle where I'm just like, I'm not gonna buy it, but I do like elements of it. And actually, can you look at the link I just sent you? I'm just curious if you think that this version that I mean, it looks like a demo model,
It's ugly,
but it
but
looks better though, right?
it looks better. Yeah,
Yeah, because I like the way that they curve the doors and stuff like
they
that.
added contours to it. It doesn't look like something that was just I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. It's as though it's like your kid's first car, right?
Yeah,
And the angles don't like this goes back to us working on some of those defense vehicles back in the
yeah, those
day, but
military
like
vehicles. Yeah,
it looks like you look at the Cybertruck and I'm like, God, I hope nothing falls on it because there's nothing to deflect the impact. It's just going to go right into it's just going to take the full impact of any kind of downward force.
yeah. There's a guy in our neighborhood who drives around one of those old Humvees. Like the
Mhm.
military ones, not the commercial
They
ones.
have an electric Humvee on the road that came out
I know,
before the Cybertruck made it, but
I know.
after like I don't think that was announced until I don't think they started working on it until after the Cybertruck was announced. That's how long it took this thing to get to market.
Yeah, but the point I was going to try to make about the guy down the street that drives that thing is that he drives it around because it's fun. And
Sure.
so I'm wondering if that's a big part of this too, right? People with disposable income will just think
Mhm.
it's fun to drive around.
Sure, but at that point, there's plenty of other. For me, like if I'm not a huge truck person. That's one of the things,
Yeah.
right? So who you'd really want to talk to is people who buy trucks,
Yeah.
And I know a lot of them will spend like $100,000 on a tricked out F-150 or
Sure.
F-350 with dually wheels and stuff like that can roll coal. And they're not. I don't think that the demographic who's going to buy this either. But I also think they're going to look at this and say like, oh, that's ugly because I'm kind of tied to the history of trucks.
Yeah. Well, this is our review. There was no notes to this, guys. Dee and I just jumped in and debated this after watching it. So now you can see what it's like when we're behind the scenes and Dee and I are trying
Now,
to figure out whether things work or don't work. But did
now
you
I
have any
warned Brian.
last
I want
words
everybody to
before I wrap?
know. I want to know. I want everybody out there to know that when Brian pitched this morning, it was like, "Oh, hey, the event's going on. Why don't we do a quick wrap up on it?" And I was just like, "Now you know I'm going to be salty if I
Yeah,
watch this
I
thing and
said,
miss
and
parts
I
of it."
said that's fine. This is what makes us a good partnership, right? Is that we feel differently about things. But I really appreciate everybody listening. I know this was a quick episode. Actually, we were planning on doing 15 minutes. We're at 36 minutes, so we just can't stop talking about things. But anyways, thanks everyone. We really appreciate it. Like we always say, please like us or share with a friend, and we will see you all at our normally scheduled release on Mondays next week. Bye.